Good afternoon. Today we are going to work through the 2019 calculator paper. Paper 2, let's make a start. Number 1, charity distributed 80,000 emergency packages during 2018. Is expected to increase by 15% each year. Calculate how many packages needed in 2021, right? So 2018, 2021, so we're talking about 3 years, okay? So we're going to increase by 15% each year for 3 years. This is a standard percentage question. You're multiplying the 80,000. We're going to increase, remember you're adding on 15%. The method we use to increase by 15% is to multiply by 1.15, and that adds on 15% each year. And we're doing this for 3 years. Okay, on your calculator. And then double check to see if it mentions anything about rounding. Read the question again. It doesn't mention anything about rounding, so that's us. And always try and put units in. This is packages, okay, don't worry about that, that'll be fine. Right, number 2. Find the magnitude of vector p. The magnitude, remember, we think of this as like the length of it. The length of, think of Pythagoras. We square the numbers that we're given, the components of the vector. Square the numbers. Square them all and then take the square root, okay? You can square them all first and then get the total and then take the square root. It doesn't matter how you write this down, okay? 6 squared, 27 squared. Remember when you square the negative 18, be very careful when you square that negative 18. It will be a positive number, okay? Square them, add them all up, gives you 1,089. Take the square root of 1,089 and the answer is 33. Remember, this is a calculator paper. Okay, sometimes that can come up in a non-calculator paper, but the numbers will be much easier to deal with. Number 3. Right, certainly looks like a trigonometry question. We've got angles in a triangle, we've got measurements. We've given the angles. Always make sure you read the information because sometimes what is given here might not necessarily all be marked on the diagram. I know some of you just look at the diagram and that's it, but please read all the information. So we have to calculate the area of the triangle. Okay, now although we mentioned trigonometry, there is a trig formula that works out the area of a triangle. And here it is. Let's have a wee look. There we go. Put it up there. Wee formula list. So, oh, no, that's not going to help. Put it down a wee bit. Oh, there we go. Area of a triangle. So area of a triangle equals a half AB sine C. A and B are the sides. Okay, small letters are the side lengths. And remember, capital letter C, sine C is the angle. And in this particular formula, it's 2 sides and the angle in the middle. So it's a half times, doesn't matter which one's A and B, half times 45 times 70. Remember, they're all stuck together. We're multiplying everything here. Times by sine 129. You should be able to key that in the one line in your calculator at the one time. A half or 0.5 times 45 times 70 times by sine 129 gives us about 1,224. 0.00, I'm not going to bother with that, but we'll just double check. It doesn't mention anything about rounding, so that'll be fine. The units, centimetres, are in the lengths, so the area is in squared centimetres. Okay. Oops. Number 4. A sesame seed weighs 3.6 times 10 to the power negative 6 kilograms. The weight of a poppy seed is 8% of the weight of that one. What is the weight of a poppy seed? So we need to work out 8% of that number. How do you work out 8% of something? The easiest way to work out 8% is do 0.08 times the number. Or, I suppose, some of you might do 8% as 8 over 100 times the number. Doesn't matter which way you do it. Oops. Okay, be careful, it does mention about rounding here, so we'll get the answer on the calculator, we'll write it down, and then we'll just double check what we're rounding to. 3.6 times 10 to the power negative 6. Right, on my calculator I have 2.88 times 10 to the power negative 7. That's a 7. Let's just double check what it mentions in terms of rounding. Give your answer in scientific notation. So that's it, okay? And it's in kilograms. Either method would do. Number 5. This is a cone, diameter 6. It tells you that, so that means if the diameter is 6, that distance across the bottom is 6 then, both ways. The height is 8, so it's 8 high. Right, x and y axis are tangents, okay. A is the point of contact between the base and the x-axis, right, that makes sense. B is directly above the centre, that's fine. What are the coordinates of A and B? Remember, for this question, your coordinates are going to be in not just x and y, it's going to be x, y and z, okay. How many along, how many back, and how many up? X, Y, Z, that's an X, it doesn't look like an X. There we go. It's a bit better. Right, so point A we'll do first, point A. So it did say that, let's see, all right, okay, so that's 6, remember this is 6 as well, that's the diameter, it tells us that's the diameter. So A is in line with the centre, so that's going to be 3 across then. So A is 3 across. How much in the y axis is it? Well, y is this axis here. It's nothing along the way, and it's nothing up as well. Okay, that's us. What about B? How many across is B? B is in line with A, so it's still 3 across. It's also 3 back the way. And how high is it? It's 8 up. That's us. Looked complicated, sounded a bit more complicated than what it was. Right, number 6, solve this equation and give your answer to 1 decimal place. So this is a quadratic question. Solve the quadratic, and I'm hoping you know what I'm bringing up the formula list for. Why am I bringing the formula list up? Because there is a formula, and I'll put it down here. There we go. This here is the quadratic formula, and that is what we're using to work out the roots or to find the solutions, okay? A, B and C. A is 3, B is 9, and C is negative 2. And we're going to sub these numbers into this formula list, okay? So here's the formula here, x equals. It starts off with, I'll write the formula down. You don't need to write it down first of all, okay? It's a given formula, you don't need to write it down, but I like to, so don't worry. Right, okay. Negative b, negative 9, plus and minus. Remember the plus and minus is how we get our two solutions. 9 squared for b squared, take away. 4ac means 4 times a times c. Okay? All divided by 2 times a, 2 times 3. So we're just going to tidy that up a wee bit now. So it's negative 9 plus or minus the square root of 9 squared, 9 nines, 81. Remember, you can use your calculator. Take away. I'm going to do the 4 times 3 times negative 2 all in the 1. 4 times 3 times negative 2 is negative 24. And we're dividing all this by 6. Okay? So really what we've got is negative 9 plus and minus the square root of, remember what happens when we do 81 take away negative 24? We're doing 81 add 24. Okay, take away a negative, we add the numbers together. It's an addition sum. So it's 105 divided by 6. Now we're going to get our two solutions by doing one version with a plus and one version of this formula with a subtract. It doesn't matter which one you do first. and negative 9, take away the square root of 105 over 6, okay? We'll get our answers and then we'll just double check on the rounding. Right, first one, negative 9. Listen carefully how I'm typing this in. Negative 9 plus the square root of 105 equals, I get the top line first and now I'm going to divide it by 6. So when I do that, I get 0.2078. But it does say 1 decimal place, so I'm going to leave it as 0.2. Okay, second solution, negative 9, take away the square root of 105 equals, divided by 6, and I get negative 3.207 roughly, 1 decimal place, negative 3.2. And that's the two solutions. Okay. Number 7. Here's a triangle. It looks a bit like trigonometry, not Pythagoras. It's not a right angle triangle. Calculate the size of the smallest angle in the triangle. The smallest angle will always be directly opposite from the smallest side. The shortest side is 6.3. That's the shortest side. So the smallest angle is going to be this one here. I'll call it angle X. Okay? Now, which trigonometry formula are we going to use to work this out? I'll put them up, I'll put them down here. It's easier down here. Right, so it's a sine rule or a cosine rule question. We're calculating an angle. The sine rule or the cosine rule can both work out an angle. If it was a sine rule, we would need an angle with a side opposite. We don't know any angles at all, so we cannot actually use the sine rule at all. So it must be the cosine rule. We've got two versions of the cosine rule. The first one starts a squared equals, little a for a squared. That's a side, remember. So it's actually this formula here we're using. Cos A equals. Okay, I'm just going to write down the formula as it appears from the formula list, and then we'll go over what is A, B and C, because it does matter which is which here. Right, very, very important, please, that the one that you're calling, I meant to do that in a different colour, there we go, that'll do. The one that we're calling the A squared, the little letter A, little side A, is the one that's opposite the angle that we're working out. Okay, so our little side A is going to be the 6.3. Okay, it doesn't matter now, the other two. So we're going to say 8.5 squared, hope I can fit this in, 8.5 squared, plus the 7.2 squared, subtract the 6.3 squared. And we're going to divide that all by 2 times 8.5 times 7.2. Okay, I'm going to score out that wee number 3 there. That's 3 marks for this question. I'm going to work out the top line. 8.5 squared plus the 7.2 squared. Take away the 6.3 squared. 84.4. Oops. 84.4. And I'm going to key in the bottom line. Not all at the one time, okay? Sorry, I'm not keying in the top and the bottom all in the one calculation. 2 times 8.5 times 7.2. 122.4. And now I'm going to do the division. Okay? So 84.4 divided by the 122.4 gives me approximately 0.6895. I'm going to leave that answer on my screen because it isn't the right final answer. This is angle X, remember, always check to see if it makes sense. Angle X, 0.6 degrees, it doesn't make sense. Remember, this formula works out cos of angle A. So how do we get angle A? We do the inverse cos of that number. Keep that number on your screen, and really all you should have to do is press inverse cos, answer equals, and I get approximately 46.4 degrees. And we'll go back and check to see if it mentions anything about rounding. It doesn't mention anything about rounding, so that'll do, 46.4. Okay. Number 8. A traffic bollard is in the shape of a cylinder with a hemisphere at the top. We've been given the diameter and the height. The numbers are given, they're on the picture. Find the volume. So this should be a pretty straightforward question. Obviously, round it to 3 significant figures at the end. We're going to find the volume of the cylinder and then the volume of the hemisphere and add them together. We'll do the cylinder first. So the volume of the cylinder, I don't know why that's so messy. The volume of the cylinder formula is not on the formula list, okay? You must know it. The volume of a cylinder is just pi r squared, as in the area of a circle, times by the height, okay? So it's pi times, what's the radius of the circle? Well, the radius is obviously just 12 then, because the diameter is 24. And what's the height of the cylinder? The height of this cylinder is not 70. Okay, the height of the whole shape altogether is 70. We just want this height here. So it's less than 70. But what do we have to take off of 70? Right, this wee distance here, this wee distance here is, think of it as really just the radius, okay? That there that I've marked in, they're both the radius, they're both 12, whether you draw across the way, from the middle to the end, 12, or you draw up the way. So that wee distance is 12 there. So what's the height of the actual cylinder? Well, it's going to be 70 take away 12. So the height of the cylinder is actually only 58. Okay, so that's why we're putting in the height as 58. Right, pi r squared, pi times 12 squared times 58 gives me 26,238.58. Okay, that's the cylinder, and then we'll work out the volume of the, we're working out the hemisphere. Remember, your formula list has the formula for a sphere, full sphere. Okay, where did my formula list go? Oh, maybe I didn't bring it up. Right, here it's here, the volume of a sphere, there it is down the bottom. Okay, 4/3 pi r cubed, so it's 4 divided by 3 times pi times, what's the radius, is 12 cubed, key in the calculator, 4/3 times pi times 12 cubed, 7238.229. Are we going to add these two together yet? No, we're not, because this is a full sphere. The hemisphere is only half of that, okay? So the hemisphere, you need to divide that by 2. So the hemisphere is actually only 3,619.11 approximately. So we've got two answers. We've got the cylinder and we've got the hemisphere. How do you find the final answer? Well, we add them together, okay? The 26238 approximately, add the 3,600. And I think we have to round as well. Let me just check. 29857.69. It does say 3 significant figures, so I'm running out of space. 3 significant figures. 1, 2, 3. 298 are the first 3 significant figures. The next one after the 8 is 5 or more. So we're not going to leave it as 298. We're going to move it to 299. But don't forget, there'll be 2 zeros at the end. So instead of about 29,800, we're 29,900. And volume cubed, centimetres cubed. Okay, I'll just put the answer there in the middle. Right, number 9. Georgia had a roof repaired. She was charged an extra 2.5% for a late payment. She had to pay a total of $977.85. So this value that we've been given already includes the extra 2.5%. So what we've been asked to do is how much she would have saved if she'd paid in time. So we're going to work out what she would have paid had she not been charged the 2.5% extra. So see this number here, the 977%, sorry, the £977. She was charged an extra 2.5%. So the original value plus 2.5% is this number. So see this £977, that actually stands for 100% plus the extra 2.5. Okay, so basically 102.5% is £977. We're trying to work backwards to find out what just 100% is. A couple of different ways you can do this question, to be honest. So if you'd have done it slightly different, just pause the video, just do it your own way and double check. I'm going to find 1% by dividing by 102.5. Oops. And I get 9.54. That's what 1% is. I'm actually trying to find 100%. So to find 100%, I then times it by 100. Don't know why I keyed that in the calculator. £954. Okay. Right, let's see. Yep, we're not quite finished this question. I'm just reading the question again, yeah. The question actually says how much would she have saved if she'd paid in time. This is how much she would have paid if she paid in time. She actually paid £977.85, so she's paid a wee extra 20-something pounds. How much extra has she paid, or how much would she have saved? Well, let's just take that number off. Take away the £977.85, £23. So she's actually paid an extra £23.85 that she could have saved, because the actual value was £954. Okay, let's see, number 10. Completing the square question. So half it, square it, subtract it. That's what we're doing. So it's x plus 5 in the bracket squared. Right, our answer needs to look like this. Don't put x plus 5x, that's incorrect. X plus 5 in the bracket squared. So that's the half it part, half it, square it. So square the 5, 5 squared is 25, and we take 25 away. I know some people write this down slightly different from me, that's absolutely fine. The 2 marks are awarded in this question for 1 mark if you write x plus 5 in the bracket squared, and with or without any working, you don't need to do any working if you then write take away 40, that's it. Okay, because we're taking away 25 and take away 15 as well. Okay, 2 marks for that. So this line of working that I've done here in the middle is not actually needed. Right, I'll do, this is the last question I'll do, and then you try the questions that I've set you, and then come back and do part 2, okay? Right, okay, it looks like a right angle triangle. I've not looked at the question, but it looks like it might be something to do with Pythagoras, but don't always assume. Let's go and have a wee read. Right, okay. The total length of the course, right, okay, we've got this wee number here. Don't just look at the picture, right? There's a number here that's not been marked on the picture. The total length of the course is 1500 metres. B's 600, right, we've got a 600. That is that, and this is north from here. So the question is it due east? So they're basically asking, is this a right angled triangle? That's what the question's asking. Now, the fact that the total race is 1500 metres tells us what that number should be. 1500, take away the 650 and the 600. Take away those 2 numbers and that'll leave you the remainder 250. So that number's 250. 250. I may say 250. That's 250, not 2.50, what it looks like. So that's 250. The question is basically, is this a right angle triangle? That's what we're going to have to show. Prove whether or not it is. Right, if it's a right angle triangle, then the 2 smaller squares, sides square, should add up to the longer one squared. So they're the 2 smaller sides. 600 squared. 600, we're squaring it. Add the 250 squared. Add them up. Gives us 422, 500. Okay, two ways you can do this. I could take the square root of that number, or I could square the 250 and see if it matches. Okay, I'll square the 250. That's normally how I do it. I would square the 250. Right, why am I saying 250? Oh jeez, it's been a long day. I'm going to square the 650, which is the longest side squared. And if it's exactly the same as this number here, oh, it is 422, 500. Right, so basically the two smaller sides squared add up and they exactly give you the longest side squared. These two numbers are equal, so that means it must be a right angled triangle, and because it's right angled triangle, then A and B are definitely east or west from each other. So yes, B is east of A. Okay, answer their question. And it's really because 600 squared plus 250 squared equals 650 squared. If it didn't equal, I'd put a line, diagonal line slashing through the equal sign. And what that tells you is by the converse of Pythagoras, because that is the method we're using, by the converse of Pythagoras, it is a right-angled triangle. You must make sure you mention the converse, and you must make sure you mention it's the converse that proves whether it's right-angled or not right-angled. Okay, and because it's a right-angled triangle, it obviously is east. Okay, very good. Right, come back for part 2.